Hey, this is Every Single Muscle, and you're listening to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is Steve Bowtie Bryant here. Back in the 90s, I was a pro wrestling photographer for the South, and I released what might have been one of the original sets of indie trading cards. I ran across some of these original sets. They were up in Randall Fanning's attic all this time. PG-13 rookie card, Ricky Morton, George Weingroff as the Sheik, Chris Champion, Reno Riggins, Billy Montana, Gary Valiant, the Scorpion, the Medic, Rick Reynolds, Jeff Daniels, Mephisto and Dante, Ben Jordan, Steve Neely, Marcus Woodrow, Quinton Quarisma, Little Farmer John. If you'd like an opportunity to get these cards, contact me now. You can get them for only $49.99. Contact me at stevebowtiebryant at iCloud.com. Get your set now while supplies last.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know, now you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared, Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, and I'm here as always with my brother from the same father and mother, the Plastic Sheik, Jared Street. What's up, Sheik? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, brother. And if you don't know already, I brought some charisma with me.
I was hoping you were going to say that, because what that means is the co-host with the mo-host and our territory wrestling guru, Quinton Quarisma, is here. Quinton, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay. How you guys doing?
Good. Just hoping the weather warms up. It's got a cold spell back. Ready for springtime and summer, really.
So yeah, guys, I'm excited. Obviously, this is a Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling action figures. We've got Greg Hahn of Every Single Muscle on today. We're super excited about that. Sheik, I know you're very fired up for this.
Man, I just remember it brings back a lot of memories when I saw his YouTube channel. That's my preferred media for videos and stuff like that. So when I saw his channel pop up, I immediately sent you the link. I think it was the first one, and I was like, check this out. Because, I mean, we had those figures as a kid, but we didn't know anything of the background. We didn't know anything. We probably made them wrestlers for whoever we wanted, but we didn't know that there were, some based on actual wrestlers and some that are just way out there. So
although I don't know how we missed the Dusty one, honestly, but hey,
Yeah, I don't know. But, there are some... there are some that you see and you're like, wow, what you know when you don't know, really. But we love those figures. I'll address it in there, but we called them pink men because they had the flesh pink color to them. So that was our preferred nomenclature, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
But we love the figures. I mean, they were very pivotal to our childhood fun time. So it's going to be great to learn more about them, and I'm keeping up with his channel all the time to see what's new. So
Oh yeah, he's every day he's putting out something awesome. So y'all go check that out at Every Single Muscle, and you'll hear more about his story just a little bit. Now, of course, next I've got to bring up this. So our show's every other week. So sometimes we miss some dates or we don't get to talk about certain things when we want to. But I do want to double back real quick and wish Ben Jordan a very happy birthday. He turned 60 years old, guys. So man,
happy birthday, Ben.
Yeah, it was March 29th. That's when he turned 60. And man, I've talked to him already. He's Ben Jordan. He's same Mr. Positivity. So we love you, brother. Happy birthday. And then the next person I got to wish a happy birthday, and it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen before our next episode. So we got to make sure we got to get our little brother and roving. Give me back my pro wrestling reporter. He represents us at every major
AEW event almost. He's like the green shirt guy from WWE to AEW, I believe. No,
yeah, that's him. We need to maybe get him his own segment where he comes in like Lee, what was it, Lee Marshall, he calling from the road. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, well, happy birthday, little brother Mason. We love you, man. Congrats on the new little baby news, and can't wait to see you next time, brother. So, but now that leads us to honestly the most popular segment in podcasting going today right now. Quinton, take it away, brother.
This week in wrestling history with Quinton Quarisma.
All right, guys, we're going to go to April 15th, 1974. It's going to be Columbus, Georgia, at the Municipal Auditorium for ASWA and Gunkel's promotion.
Oh, ASWA.
So this is right during all that big Georgia war. So we got the first match. There's no results on these; they're just the match listings. The first match is Lanny Poffo versus Cisco Grimaldo. I think everybody knows who Lanny Poffo is.
Yeah.
Cisco Grimaldo. He worked about 15 years. He did a lot of Georgia. He started out in CMLL, did a lot of Arizona. I didn't have a clue who this was. I had to look his stuff up. So he just said he was just a guy, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we go to the second match. It's a boxing match. That's one of the most Nick Gillis things. He always did the most boxing match things. Anyway, it's Whipper Watson Jr. Against Bill Bowman. Whipper Watson Jr. We talked about him. Was that last work for the Falcons?
Now, were these shoot boxing matches or work boxing matches?
I don't know. I mean,
I'd assume.
So I'm sure you're throwing some taters in there. I mean, there were. I mean, I know my distance on my punches, but when you put a glove on, that's going to make my distance up because I know exactly where I need to make contact and pull on my punch. So with a glove on, I'm probably going to clock somebody. So I'm some taters thrown in that thing. So Bill Bowman was also known as Bill Sky. He had a tag partner off and on for the years. His name was Joe Turner or Joe Sky. They both worked as Joe and Bill Sky. Gulf Coast a lot, Goulis, and they were a version of the interns.
Of course.
They were an intern version in the 70s. I forgot where it was. It was one of the Southern Territories. So then we go to the third match. We got Jim Wilson versus the Crusader. Jim Wilson is the guy that back in the 70s, I think he played at University of Georgia. He got blackballed because I think he tried to start a union and all that. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was not good at all. He was very not good. He got booked a lot of places up until he's got blackballed. And actually, then I think he came back and I think he worked a couple of shows for the Poffos around 80, 81-ish maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, he was on one of those things, one of them shows, Donahue or something. We had all the wrestlers on there with Thunderbolt Patterson, Jim Wilson, and David Schultz starting to beat up Jim Wilson right there in the studio.
I've seen that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we go to the fourth match. It is a ASWA Georgia Junior Heavyweight Title match. We got the champion, Wayne Cowan. You know what? This is half and half. It's actually, this one does have some results on it. It's a half result, half just match listings. It's okay. It's going to be just a title match. Champion Wayne Cowan beat Johnny Ringo. Didn't know who Johnny Ringo was. He worked about 10 years, did some WWF TV jobs, worked in North Carolina, Georgia area.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Why, Johnny Ringo.
R.I.P. Val. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the timing on that? Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got the fifth match. This is a ASWA Georgia Tag Team Title match. We got the champions Ray Candy and El Mongo beat the Royal Kangaroos. Okay. El Mongo worked. He worked. Oh my gosh, he worked probably like 30 years. Or a lot in Georgia, Mexico. He worked. He ran forever. Y'all know who the Royal Kangaroos were, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was Jonathan Boyd and oh man,
he was talked about on the last episode in Wenda Cooley. Norman Frederick Charles III.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I always pick the easier one to remember.
So we go to the sixth match. It's ASWA Georgia Heavyweight Title match. We got the champion Ron Pritchard versus Ox Baker. There's just a match listing on this one. Everybody knows who Ox Baker is. Ron Pritchard, I've heard the name, but I didn't know much about him. He worked around about 5-6 years, Arizona, Texas, Georgia. Didn't have a long career at all. And he was a Pritchard with a T. Like the later famous brothers that didn't have the T in their name.
No T. Yeah, no T.
So then we go to the seventh match, which is the main event. It is a lights out match. We got Thunderbolt Patterson beat Rock Hunter. Pretty much everybody knows Thunderbolt Pat. Well, surely they've heard the name, but he was forever, and he was known as a troublemaker. And he started up a lot of outlaws and worked outlaws when he'd get mad at the Georgia office and stuff. So Rock Hunter worked about 20 years. He worked a lot of Georgia. He worked a lot as a manager too. Rock Hunter. Yeah.
Okay.
He's around for a long time. All right. So that does that show. So we're going to go to the next one. This is going to be April 16th, 1981. We're going to Richmond, California. This is for the Western States Alliance. This was Anton Leon's promotion. It was basically started because Shires was basically dead. I think Shires was pretty much done, shut the doors late 81. So this is basically a lot of the guys left Shires and went over, and basically they was trying to start up. And I think Burt Prentice worked for this Anton Leon. I remember in his book, he mentioned Anton Leon somewhere in his book, and I think he actually went out there and maybe worked for him in the office.
Gotcha.
Not anything like, I think it was just he worked in the office, I think.
Okay.
I'm sure. But all right, so we got the first match. We have Mike York beat Guy Lambert. Mike York, 20 years. He's one of the Alaskans. He worked everywhere. The Alaskans. Guy Lambert did AWA, did some WWF in his later years. Did a lot of the California, San Francisco area a lot. So I didn't know much about him either.
Yeah.
Right, so we got the second match. We have Ron Pope beat Dr. Hiro Ota. Ron Pope was the Mighty Zulu. He worked about 15 years, worked a lot of places, was known to be a horrible worker. But he had in the 70s, he had like the best body. He had the best body in the business. But yeah, he was not a very good worker from everything I've read. And he actually almost killed Cowboy Frankie Lane.
Man.
He hit him with a metal pipe in the head, and Frankie Lane, I think he said it cracked his skull, fractured his skull, and he was out. Frankie Lane was out for a long time, and they said he was never right. He was never. I heard he never fully recovered and was never back to the way he was before.
Wow.
Yeah, and they had a warrant for his arrest. I think it was in Cleveland, somewhere around Cleveland, or somewhere in Ohio, and he never was arrested because they said he never went back to Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah. So the Dr. Hiro Oto, he worked as a Mr. Fuji and a Great Fuji, but he wasn't the Mr. Fuji everybody knows.
Gotcha. Okay.
He worked in this. He worked so many places. I mean, you name it, he worked there.
Yeah.
60s and 70s. So Yeah, in the 80s, and winded down in the 80s. All right, so we go to the third match. We got Hector and Mondo Guerrero beat John Tolos and Tor Kamada. Everybody surely knows Hector and Mondo.
Yeah, yeah.
And John Tolos he's a legend. Surely, if you don't know John Tolos, look him up. Him and Fred Blassie just in the late 60s, early 70s tore up California.
Yeah, yeah. Big name.
Yeah, they had that big show at the Coliseum and all that. Tor Kamada, I've seen the name for years. He worked about 20 years, did a lot of Stampede, a lot of All Japan. But I remember seeing his name a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to the fourth match. We have Dean Ho and Pepper Gomez beat Jerry and Roger Kirby. Dean Ho was one of those guys I always saw in the magazines and stuff, in the late 70s. And he was a WWF tag team champion at one time. Worked a lot of West Coast. He worked a lot. And he had a really, what year was that? I want to say early 80s. He had a long run in Georgia Championship Wrestling, which he really stuck out like a sore thumb,
Mm-hmm.
Because he was way up in age by then. And then Pepper Gomez, he worked 30 years, West Coast guy, did some AWA. He was known for having the stomach where they would get the guys get up on the ladder and jump on the stomach. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then Jerry Valiant was a guy named Guy Mitchell. He was brought in as the third Valiant brother. He worked everywhere. Worked for about 25 years. Roger Kirby he worked everywhere. He worked a lot for Gula, Central States. He was known in the late 60s. He was one of the wrestling cousins with Les Thatcher and Dennis Hall. They were the wrestling. Yeah, they were the wrestling cousins. And they worked all the Southern territories. All right, so that's that one. And then we'll go for this last one here. We'll go April 16th, 1997, Lebanon, Tennessee, at the National Guard Armory. It's NAW. This is Burt Prentice's promotion. So the first match, we got Chris Michaels beat Kevin the Thumper. All right, then we go to the second match. We have Steve Neely versus beat Billy Ray Hickerson.
Okay.
And then we have Farron Fox beat Billy Briggs. Fourth match, we have the Wild Boys beat the Moondogs, Spot and Rex.
Gotcha. Okay.
In the main event, we have JC Ice and Doug Gilbert beat Buddy Landell and Tommy Rich.
Nice. Little Memphis love there.
So that was 90. So this is when Burt left Arkansas, come to Tennessee, come to Nashville, sort of NAW. By this time, I think he had stopped running. I won't say lost, I don't know for sure, but stopped running the National Guard Armory in Nashville and was running Lebanon and doing taping out of Lebanon, because the week after this is when I started for Burt, because I'm looking at this card. Billy Ray Hickerson was gone the next week. The Moondogs were gone the next week. Buddy Landell and Tommy Rich were gone the next week. And that's my well, everybody left and he needed talents. And I was like, and so I went and worked that's when I went to work for him the next week.
So there's a funny story that Ben and Steve told on their episode when Ben was our guest co-host and Steve was the guest. And there was a story about how Ben and Steve had told the whole locker room that they weren't getting paid $10 like everybody else, because apparently Burt would only pay you 10 if they did TV or something. And the Wild Boys stood up for their money and they were like, hey, look, we're getting regular pay. And they would even tell them to turn the cameras off on the way to the ring.
Yep, it's yeah, they did that. That was when the couple of times I did TV for Burt that were actually tapings. Then NAW years, rephrasing, I got my regular pay. Now, when I worked for him at Coleman and I got my money, I was like, whoa. I was like, what is this? And I was like, that's TV money. I'm like, well, I wasn't told there's nothing about TV money. Yeah, it was a big difference.
I bet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're talking about then.
Exactly what they're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Because Burt, he he didn't want to. And then Porter did it to me once, and I was like, no, this ain't happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing where so they could, have a full card and say and do TV, but it's still a full card, and basically nobody gets really paid at all. You get $10, and it's like, okay, that's stuff that happened in the territory days. No, it's
Right.
not. Yeah, they tried to do that thing, and it didn't. A lot of guys went for it, and a lot didn't. And
Yeah.
but then but I'm gonna tell you right now, Byrd was paying guys, some of the guys for their full thing.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, as they walked out the door, they were like, "We're just letting y'all know we get paid, and y'all are getting paid $10." So.
Boys up that was that wasn't getting that $5 and $10 because I'm telling you right now, Burt wasn't doing everybody like that because he wasn't. I'm telling you, Doug Gilbert wasn't driving all the way up there to Nashville for $10.
Yeah, I guarantee that's the case. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all the local guys, he was trying to do that thing, that old TV scam on, and Ben and Steve wasn't having it.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole other story with Ben and Steve and Doug and Jamie, but I won't get into that. That's Ben's story to tell. We'll let him tell that another day if he ever wants to. But yeah, man, that was awesome, Quinton. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, good job, Quinton, as always.
And this has been
This Week in Wrestling History with Quinton Quarisma.
Oh, one more time, Quinton, the most popular podcast segment going today. A little more of that awesome This Week in Wrestling History. So thank you so much for that, Quinton. But I can't lie, I'm really excited about what we got coming up. Mr. Greg Hahn from Every Single Muscle. Guys, if y'all are ready, let's hit it. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
This is Kroll, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling with Jimmy Street and Jarrett the Plastic Sheik. Be sure to like, subscribe, and view all of our USWO and Saw Wrestling content at Nashville Wrestling Network, exclusively on YouTube.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Action figure.
All right, we are back with more from the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And Sheik and Quinton, man, I tell you what, normally we're talking to wrestlers from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. Depends on who we're talking to. We're having a blast. But this one is a Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling action figure exclusive. Today, Jared, you turned me onto this channel. I love it. I watch it as much as I can and every day. And we're going to teach Quinton a little bit about these guys today.
Yeah, there you go.
We have the one and only Greg Hahn from Every Single Muscle. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. Glad to have you, man.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to talk little rubber action figures with anybody at any time. It's kind of a thing where I think that's why I do it online, because my wife doesn't want to hear me do it. So anybody will.
I feel that, man. I feel that.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, you are at Every Single Muscle. Go to his YouTube channel. Go to his Instagram. I think you got it on Instagram too. It's very cool to see that.
TikTok. I've got it on TikTok. I've got it on Instagram. I've got it on YouTube. They're all kind of in different phases of time. TikTok's ahead of all the rest, frankly. I started on that one, and then there was that moment where TikTok was about to be shut down. And look, we can get into the politics of using that app at all. But
sure.
It was about to be shut down, and I went panicked, and I went, I got to do it on the other channel. So I started an Instagram and a YouTube. And so now I'm juggling all three at once. and you can find it anywhere.
Yeah, and Jared came to me and he was like, Jimmy, I really want to bring him on. You know, I want to learn more about the history of this. But the cool thing is, Greg, your channel's so good, we don't even need you now, bro. So thank you for stopping by.
It's true. You can just cut in certain edits of my videos and we can have it right now.
It's really fun. Thank you. Have a good night. All right. No, man. No, we got a whole bunch of questions we're excited to ask you. But the first one we start off is my brother, the Plastic Sheik's favorite question. Take it away, Sheik.
So, Greg, this is going to be a two-parter because you're a muscle fan and you're a wrestling fan. So I'm just going to we're going to get this. So a little backstory too, and Jimmy may drop this knowledge later, but me and Jimmy called them pink men when we were growing up because they were the flesh colored pink, the like standard color. So that's like a 6 and 8 year olds language at the time, I guess, of what we called them. But what would be? So I'll ask you the first part. What would be your Mount Rushmore of muscle men? Your favorite, like 4, 5, or 6, something like that.
Yeah, that's 4, isn't it? So I picked out 4, and I think everybody's going to have a different 4. Like, I don't think if you ask anyone in the world who actually knew what muscle were, no one's going to have the same exact 4. So for me, and I could say this, I'm going to be giving you numbers and names, and I don't know that there's too much context here, but for me, there's figure number 141, which is one of the Muscle Man sculpts. To me, that's like the quintessential sculpt of all of the muscles. Like when I think of muscle, that's the one I think of immediately. And that's the one that's kind of modeled after the version of Muscle Man that appears on the packaging. So for me, that's like unquestionably number 1.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'll say one. I got to pick a Buffalo Man, a Terry Bull, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I go with number 105, which is the Buffalo Man wearing like this Letterman jacket, which I always thought was like. Then I've got. Then I'm just going to. Then these are just some weird ones. Ones that I have a special spot in my heart from my childhood. It's the number 127, which is Junk Man, and he's got these like big spiky.
That's a good one. Yeah.
He's like a trash compactor themed wrestling monster dude. And then number 32, which is King Tun, who's like this pig guy, this big fat pig dude.
I know you're talking about.
I'm picking these because they hit a special spot in my heart. They were in my original 28 pack that I got as a kid, and they're the ones that are just like kind of the first ones that jump into my head.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a great list, and there's so many of them. I mean, like I said, we had 50 or 60 when we were a kid, and like I look at the list, and I'm like, man, I didn't have that one. I wish I had that one when I was a kid.
How can I get that one?
well, eBay's calling my name for some of these purchases, but that's a different story. But also, since we are a wrestling podcast, you have a Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Your favorite wrestlers of all time. Okay,
Mount Rushmore of wrestling. I thought over this a lot. Number 1 is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Give me a hell yeah!
I grew up, I kind of came into wrestling where like the peak moment of my wrestling fandom to start was the Attitude Era. So Stone Cold's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Prior to that, as a kid though, I was growing up on the late 80s, early 90s stuff. And so Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, brother. That's the guy.
Yeah, dig it.
Dig it. Yeah, dig it. Cream of the crop. Obviously, got to go with Macho Man. I'm also a modern wrestling fan, and I grew up, like in college and just after college, I was going to all of the Ring of Honor shows.
Nice.
And I did ring crew for them a few times, actually, and I served as security at a show, very strangely enough. So Brian Danielson, who's just one of the great technicians, he's got to be on the list. Yeah. And then the last spot was a wild card for me because I had a lot of names going in my head, and I'm right now. I have like 7 names written down. I'm going to pick one of them, and I think just to vary it up because I think maybe it's a little gender, maybe a little sexist to pick 3 guys. I'm going to go with Timeless Tony Storm, our current AEW Women's Champion, who I think had the greatest storyline I watched in wrestling in a very long time.
Yeah. And she's
a great character.
Definitely. She's very much a bright spot in certain instances for AEW. Not to knock AEW. I'm not here to do that. But I'm just saying I feel like she's a little bit ahead of a lot of those guys there. That's what I'm saying. I think she's kind of at the finish line almost in her idea for her gimmick. I think it's a great gimmick. I love it. And how
she found it. She found it roughly a year or so ago, and it kind of took her to the next level. She was always a talented wrestler, but she never quite clicked as a character. She always kind of felt kind of generic in the way that a lot of wrestlers do nowadays. But when she found the timeless gimmick, I think it like sent her on a rocket, and now she's like endlessly entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. I love when they do the black and white and stuff, and they make her figure that way too. It's very cool, man. I kind of wish they did that more. Honestly, I think they have that element, and our little brother Mason is going to love that we're putting over AEW so much right now. But I wish that they would double down on more folks like they did with her, because I do think there's a lot there that they can do and maybe come out of that WWE bubble thing. You know, it'd be cool. So yeah. Well,
it's a good list though, man.
So now that we've talked about other folks, we're going to bring it all the way back to you, Greg. So talk about your younger days. Like, tell us where you were born. Like, when did you start collecting muscle action figures, period? Talk about that, your younger days.
Sure. Let's do the whole thing. I can do this. I'm going to be talking about this for hours, you guys. You're going to have to cut this down.
All right, cool.
No, I grew up, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I got my first set of muscles, a 28-pack, when I want to say like 4 years old.
Okay.
And I immediately was infatuated with them and was obsessed with them. And over the next few years, I collected, so I got a couple more of the 28 packs and some of the 4 packs, and maybe a trash can. And I might have, I don't know, just kind of collected other ones here and there and things in the same vein, like AWA mini mashers.
Yeah.
And so as a kid, that was my favorite thing. I collected action figures, but it was always primary in my head. It was muscle and like the mini mashers and the battle beasts and things in that scale.
Yeah,
battle beasts, man.
They hold a particular place in my heart. So, I never quite grew out of it. Like, I was always like pretty into my muscle dudes. And as you get older, you kind of let some things fall to the wayside. And I was still collecting toys. And the muscles were always still like my number one. But it wasn't until many years later, probably in the early 2000s, when I discovered this website called littlerubberguys.com, which is a message board where all of the fans of these particular things kind of found themselves. And not all of the fans, but like the people that were really looking for it, this is where you found all the information you could ever want. And so there were all these kind of internet sleuths who were trying to decipher, like, why are these muscle figures available in this color and not that color, and so on and so forth. And what is this even? It actually turns out it's based on this anime and manga series in Japan called Kinnikuman that we just didn't get. So over here in the United States, we get Muscle, and it's called Millions of Unusual Small Creatures Lurking Everywhere. But that doesn't. But the characters don't have any names. They don't have any meaning. Only 2 of the characters are named on the packaging: Muscle Man and Terry Bull. And everything else is up to you. And that was kind of another part of why it was such a special thing, because you didn't have the predisposition of the stories of, say, the Ninja Turtles or Thundercats or Ghostbusters. You already know who those guys are. And when you're playing with them, you kind of tend to obey those rules. With Muscle, you got to do whatever you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of another really special part of it, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, tell us more about the Kinnikuman series that the muscle figures came from. Who are the creators, and what does Kinnikuman mean?
Okay, so Kinnikuman is a very strange anime, and it's kind of, if you know about Dragon Ball Z, it's like the predecessor of Dragon Ball Z, but it's very similar in some ways, arguably better, and I'd say that.
I would say that. Yeah.
But so it's created by these 2 guys. Their pen name collectively is Yude Tamago. These 2 guys, one's an artist and one's a writer. They started in the 1970s, and the concept is there's this weird space alien dude who's living on Earth in Japan, and he is supposed to be the prince of his planet, but he's instead kind of screwing off on Earth, and he ends up just fighting a bunch of kaiju monsters. And that's kind of the first arc of this manga series. And as it slowly evolves, it turns into a story about pro wrestling, where he becomes a wrestling-themed fighter. And all these kaiju monsters scale down a little bit, and suddenly we're fighting monsters in a wrestling ring, and they're intergalactic aliens, and there's all these kind of jokes about farting and meat, which which isn't the selling point, but I think it's worth mentioning because Kinniku is I think it has something to do with the word meat in some way. His sidekick's character is named Meat, and so there's a lot of like plays on words in that way. But really, he's a comedy character in the middle of this super serious life or death pro wrestling alien drama adventure, and it's stupid and fun, and learning about it only to me made the toys even better.
Totally, yeah, seriously. What does Kinnikuman mean, by the way?
Like I said, I believe Kinniku has something to do with. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I misspoke. Kinniku is muscle. Which is why he's called Muscle Man.
Muscle Man.
In the United States.
Yeah.
It also means meat and tendon. So that's why I was confusing these. It has multiple meanings. So that's why it has all these meat puns, which is just, not the most important part, but there it is.
Yeah. When I first started hearing about it, when I first heard Kinnikuman, I was thinking, is that Kikoman, like the soy sauce, or is that? that's a whole other question.
Yeah. No, but you know what? Again, it's like this. There's a tendency in Japanese culture to like do a lot of puns and to play around with using like food as names. Dragon Ball does it too, as I recall. Yeah. So there's kind of that parallel, and then similarly, the story arcs work the same way as the Dragon Ball Z and the Dragon Ball stories, where like a new bad guy arrives. He's the strongest guy you've ever seen in the entire universe, and nobody can ever fight him. They fight him. He kills all of Kinnikuman's friends. At the end, though, he has a change of heart and he wants to be friends with them. The next arc starts, everybody's alive, and the same thing happens over and over again. It's the strongest monster of all time. His power level is above brilliant. We can never defeat him. Oh, good, we defeated him, and now we're best friends. So on.
So I have a question. Like, I can't remember exactly where I heard this or if I did this. Now, I know and I've got a question related to this later that we'll ask too, but I thought I heard somewhere that they had an association with some wrestling company that they were going to do figures. And I don't know if I heard it was the WWF back in the day or if it was, I know AWA had the Remco Mini Masters or whatever like that, but, or I don't know if it was like New Japan or All Japan or something like that they were maybe originally going to do these figures of.
Are you talking about in M.U.S.C.L.E or?
Yeah, in M.U.S.C.L E maybe, or maybe even integrate into the M.U.S.C.L E line. And I can't remember it. I kind of wanted to ask you if you know anything about that.
Happy to answer your question. I know the answers to this.
Yes.
So
great.
there have been very many different occurrences of things that resemble muscle or are actually rebranded as muscle. So a few years ago, the company Super 7, who does, you guys have probably heard of them. They do a ton of indie action figures nowadays. They licensed a number of different things under the muscle branding. So they did do WWE muscle figures in that line. They also did like Robotech, and they did Alien, and they did
Street Fighter,
Crusaders, and Street Fighter, and Mega Man, and a whole bunch of stuff in that same line with the muscle branding. And then at some point, they lost the license to use the name Muscle, and they switched over to something called Keshi Surprise. But they're ostensibly the same. So also worth mentioning, since we're talking about Muscle themselves, the Muscle toy line that we got in America was actually just a rebranding of a Japanese toy line. Transformers worked that way, and GoBots worked that way, and Muscle worked that way too. In Japan, Kinnikuman were released as Kinkeshi, which means it means a muscle gummy eraser. And so all of the figures that exist in the Muscle toy line first came out in Japan, and in fact, there's a whole lot more in that line that weren't actually ported over to the United States.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Now, this is the part I could not wait to ask you about, actually.
Okay.
It says, who are some of the famous wrestlers that use the names or likeness of? I know that, and I'm going to name a couple that we know for sure, like Abdullah, Hulk Hogan. I know that Terry Bull might have been Bruiser Brody or Terry Gordy. I know there's the Sheik, Ed Farhat. But tell us some of the other famous guys that are in that line.
Well, there's one named after Dusty Rhodes and very much modeled after him. His name is Beauty Rhodes.
Right.
That one, I mean, it basically looks exactly like Dusty. There's another character named Dickie Man. That's the muscle with his arms up in the air.
Yes.
I don't know if he's explicitly modeled after anybody, but I have to assume because the character, as it turns out, is he like works alongside Terry Man, who's modeled after Terry Funk and named after Terry Funk. Less so modeled, more so. But I should have said Terry Man first because he's actually the second biggest character in the entire franchise. So Terry Man, but also Dickie Man, who might be modeled after Dick Murdoch.
Okay.
Sure. There's another one that's like loosely Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the character's name is like Gene Steamboard.
I saw that one on your channel the other day. Yeah.
I just posted today figure number 233, which is the last figure that appears on the M.U.S.C.L.E poster. And that's his character's God Von Erich, named after Fritz Von Erich.
Oh, wow.
Man.
Yeah, there are several. There's probably a ton more I'm not even thinking of right now, but
yeah,
they
I know
they exist throughout the line. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the Roddy Piper, but it's also Dynamite Piper, so it could be Dynamite Kid or Roddy Piper.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a Chavo Carori, very obviously Chavo Guerrero Sr.
Yeah.
There's just a few. Yeah, they did a ton like that. Again, like a lot of their story arcs were based on like there was one story arc that was like the American Tour arc, and that was the one where like most of these wrestling characters come from. There's a character that's like half Andre the Giant and half like Apollo Creed.
Oh, what a combo.
They made like a boxing themed Marshmallow Man Andre thing, but his name's Apollo. It was very interesting. I don't know. There's stuff like that. They took a lot of liberties. I mean, some of them are based on wrestlers, and then other ones are like anthropomorphic, spray cans or toilet paper or urinals or and then there's like a guy who just has a bear for a head.
Yeah.
That was the beauty of it. You just like got all kinds of weird stuff in there.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a blend of Japanese lucha libre and American wrestling. It was definitely a blend of all three, and with a heavy tie to Japan. Do you know of any others that were going to be, or when they stopped the line, was that the end of it, like the very end of it? Or was there supposed to be more? Was there more from the Japanese line that didn't get made over into the U.S.? Was there an Inoki style one? I thought there was. Antonio Inoki. Maybe I'm wrong, though.
I don't know of an Inoki specific figure.
Okay.
But as far as like, the M.U.S.C.L.E line in America was always 233 figures with 3 extra figures that I will talk about in a second. You guys are getting the sneak peek on that. I'm going to do that on the every single M.U.S.C.L TikTok shortly. But
awesome.
Or maybe it'll get posted before you post this. I don't know. What I was saying is, no, the M.U.S.C.L line has a distinct set of figures. It almost feels like they picked certain ones. If you look at there's this website called Soupy's Color Archive.
Okay.
And this guy basically figured out which trees the figures were part of. So when they molded and created these toys originally in Japan, you don't just mold one figure at a time. There's basically this like piece of plastic that connects 8 to 10 different figures in it. So they can mold them all in one mold, right? So somebody kind of calculated and figured out which figures are part of which mold. And by doing so, they were able to narrow down like why certain figures come in certain colors. And they also figured out which figures explicitly weren't used. And so there's a lot of questions as to why. So there's one character in the anime, his name's Brocken Jr., and he's the most controversial character in the Kinnikuman franchise because he's a Nazi, but he's one of the good guys. I don't think
What?
great about it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not happy, but they just, it's almost as if Japan kind of looks at the stereotype as just like the representative thing. And in their head, they're like, what is a German person? He wears a Nazi outfit and has an armband. That's German. That's all he is. He's German. He represents Germany. And so they they never gave him actual Nazi characteristics, and they didn't make him do too many explicitly horrible Nazi-style things. Oh, my God. But because he looked like that, it's very clear he was taken out of the M.U.S.C.L.E. toy line because he's one of the main characters. And so he would have been in this line, except you can tell that, like, America was probably like, let's scrap the Nazi guy.
Let's not do that.
There are other figures that are like, maybe they have like a weird extra part that's like kind of harder to mold, so they didn't do that one. Or maybe there's this one that has an allusion to something else, and so they didn't do that one. So they were like selectively not making certain ones. They didn't make like, there's one or two female characters. They probably thought boys don't like girls. Like that's what happens with action figures all the time. They don't make the girl characters.
Right.
And so they also scrapped those. So that's kind of how the decision, I mean, this is all speculative. This is all like fan theory.
Sure.
But that's kind of how people think that these decisions were made to come up with the 233 that we did get. And then in Japan, it was like this rolling thing that came out in these series of like 8 to 10 at a time. They were in vending machines and things like that. So I'm sure several of the others from the original Kinkeshi line just actually came after M.U.S.C.L.E. was even developed.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, man. You said, you explained it.
But
yeah. Right. Okay, well, like Jared brought this up earlier, so we did call them pink men. Maybe it's just our hillbilly ways, whatever. But what would you consider the official? Because your channel covers all the colors. I mean, you have colors from different characters that I didn't know they made colors for that character. So what would you consider the official color of the line? I'm not as big a fan of the other colors, although on some of them it works better that they are in that color, like the light blue man that's made of ice kind of look. I'm not 100. You know him, I'm sure, because I just saw him on your channel. He looks good in blue. But tell me, what would you consider the official color of the line?
Well, first I'll just address the pink man name. A lot of kids kind of called it different things. I called them muscle men, not just muscle, even though it's really just muscle. Muscle men just kind of happened, and a lot of people ended up calling them that. A lot of people, I think I've heard people call it pink men too. And pink is kind of the standard preferred color. I mean, that was the original color. They originally all came out in this kind of peach pink fleshy color.
Yeah.
And so that's the main color. And then what happened was about a year or so later, they released all the different other color variants.
Gotcha.
And the color ones are really cool too. I grew up with the color one. Those are the first 28 pack I got was a multicolored pack. So
okay,
that's as old school as anything else. But pink is like, that's the most sought after. That's the most classic version of these guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I kind of talked about some of this earlier with you with the Super 7. Like my son has some of that. Well, I have, and my son has some of the WWE. I think there's like four packs or something of the WWE, and then he at like a David Buster's got some of the Street Fighter Super 7 ones with his. I'm sure we paid $50 for a 4-pack with the David Buster's ticket rate. But and you said Mega Man. I think I even saw like Lucha Libre. Like all these Legends Lucha Libre. And is there a certain line you would like to maybe see like somebody do? I know Super 7's not doing them anymore, but is there a certain line you would like to see maybe in the future of M.U.S.C.L.E?
Wow. That's a great question. I mean, I'd love to get just more wrestlers in that style.
Yeah. Amen.
Just because, I'm a big wrestling fan. They've done so many. They did Masters of the Universe, and they did like Iron Maiden.
Right? Yeah, I did see that.
They did Universal Monsters. Like they covered such a wide swath of stuff. I mean, it's funny you asked me this, but like anytime anybody asks me like, oh, what's your favorite, like IP? And it's like, my answer is Kinniku, man. It's muscle. It's muscle.
Yeah,
I want
awesome.
So like, what do I want to see? I just wish they re-released these, or they just would release
new release.
Because the thing is, over in Japan right now, they have new lines of this stuff, and you can't get it in the United States. There's some sort of licensing issue, and they don't sell it here, not officially. So if you want to get it, you have to kind of port it over from there via, nefarious means, or the internet.
We saw in a picture you sent to us that there was some of the mini mashers, the AWA mini mashers. Do you have the whole line, or do you have certain ones, or?
So my collecting so I have all the ones from my childhood, and my collecting habits, the same with muscle, are you got to draw a line somewhere with toy collecting.
Absolutely.
Can't buy everything; it would be insane. If I actually wanted to buy every single muscle in every single color, it would cost me thousands of dollars, and some of them are absolutely unattainable. Yeah. So I just have one of each sculpt in the muscle line, and in the mini masher line, I've got one of each. I might have two of a few of the other guys, just because I had them since I was a kid, but I do have one of each of the figures of the AWA mini mashers.
And I want to say something really quick that was so crazy, because 2025 has led me to stop believing in coincidences. I just don't believe them, especially in this content creator world that we live in now. So I asked you, it's very regular for me to peek behind the curtain. I will send our guest a message asking for photos of them so that I can use them in promotional tools to promote the podcast that we're coming up with. So one of the photos that you sent us a picture of your collection, or a small picture of your collection. And in that picture is actually going to be our next guest. Now, I am not going to name that guest, but if you want to see who our next guest on this podcast is going to be, look at one of the photos that is promoting this podcast episode. So anyway, that's just a fun little upcoming note. And thank you for doing that. And Greg, just to say this, you did not do that for any reason other than to fulfill me with a photo, right? You didn't.
No, correct. That's just a picture of my childhood collection up close that I sent you guys.
And it's an awesome photo.
The guy, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, look close at that photo and you'll see our next guest.
CHW Wrestling returns with Indie Mania. Saturday, April 19th at the Armory in Ashland City. It's a celebration of independent wrestling with the top talent in Tennessee. Former NWA X Division champion Steven Green, the All-Nighter Austin Wright, the Red Flag Casanova Colton Cage, CHW majority owner Chris Green, those dirty, dirty Wild Wolves, the undeniable Danny White, the Kentucky Iceman, Chris Echoes, the maniacal J.C. Crow, and his manager, Nefarious Nick White, the long shot, A.J. Hall, the wrestling savior, Jason Xavier, the 300-pound Pip Daddy, Playboy David, and the Sons of Wrestling, Anthony Ray and Luis Antonio. Plus, the return of six-time NWA World Tag Team Champion Andy Douglas, as he lays down the law as special guest general manager. 6 huge matches, including 3 title defenses. Witness the action and excitement of CHW on April 19th in Ashland City at the Armory. Brought to you by Nashville's authentic Lucha Libre restaurant, Fonda on 12th, Dapper Fades Barbershop, Euro Cafe and Grill of Ashland City, Sir Pizza of Old Hickory, D&W Residential Cleaners, the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast, and Nashville Neck and Back. in Madison. Witness the action and excitement of CHW on April 19th in Ashland City at the Armory. Family wars, love and hate, championship gold, and your chance to get photos and autographs with the legendary Andy Douglas.
So, like, as far as, talked about your favorites there earlier and your Mount Rushmore, who do you consider some like underrated characters? Maybe they didn't get used as much in the storylines or anything like that, but that you've grown over the years and been like, man, that's an awesome character or just an awesome sculpt as a figure.
Yeah, that's a great question. There are so many characters that are very underutilized in the actual canon of Kinnikuman, because here's something else I bet you guys didn't know. When they introduced original characters into the Kinnikuman manga series, 99% of them were actually fan art submissions that they developed into becoming their characters.
Whoa.
And so at the beginning of each of these like manga volumes, they would be a big page and it would be like this month's submissions. And there'd be like, 20 dudes or 10 dudes like just standing there, and they all look kind of cool. And some of them would get fleshed out into becoming main characters in the line and main characters in certain story arcs. And other ones you would never see again, or they'd pop up in the background of one frame here or there. So there are so many of the characters that I associate with M.U.S.C.L.E that in my head are like, that was the coolest guy ever. And then when I learned about the Kinnikuman lore, I found out, he never did anything ever. He just showed up on that one. But they still made it into an awesome toy.
That's cool.
So,
yeah.
One of my favorite off the top of my head is this guy. His name is Saw Killer Man. Let me look up what number he is. I don't know all the numbers offhand, guys. I'm not insane.
Oh man, now you're disappointing me. No, I'm just kidding.
I gotta look that up myself. But I do have a shortcut for that. Okay, so the Saw Killer Man. This guy is muscle figure number 34. I have him in purple, and it's this like wider, denser figure, and he's got these circular saw blades on his shoulders, and he's just so freaking awesome. And again, it's like one of the like bulkier sculpts. And for me, I'm, as a kid, I'm growing up with that one. I'm thinking this guy's like one of the best toys I can imagine. Yeah. And it turns out he's not really a character at all. There's also another one, Bear Man. Panda Man is his name. I called him Bear Man as a kid. And he just has a pretty standard wrestler body with a bear head. It's figure number 114. It's simple and stupid, and I love it. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those are awesome. Both of them are awesome. Who do you think? And I know you're going to have this. I've heard you talk about how weird some of them are. But who do you consider like a couple of the weirdest like characters that are out there? And they're probably, after hearing what you said, they were probably fan submissions, drawings. After you say that,
sure. I know the one that jumps to mind immediately is figure number 135. Who is actually just an unnamed character. He's listed as Kyoku Chojin B, which just means like villainous, fighter wrestler guy. B meaning he was one of three, and he was the second one. But this figure just he has the head of an old man, and he's wearing this like scaled armor, and he has a belt,
like Aquaman type armor,
on it. And he's got these weird, like, claw, saw, hand things, and it's just absurd. And it's the one just for me. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with this thing, but
just a lot.
It's just it's a cool. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
So one of my favorite things we had with our muscle as a kid was the hard rockin' knockin' ring.
Hard knockin' rockin' ring, battling belt, muscle figure packs, each sold separately. New from Mattel. Can you save the world?
Yeah.
And I remember it being, I don't know, we loved it. But you kind of look at it and it looks so almost rudimentary, and you're like, but it's still very cool. And tell me your thoughts on that ring and any other some other stuff they have too.
For sure. The Hard Knockin' Rockin' Ring is a very important part of any muscle collection. First of all, there weren't a lot of play sets. There weren't any play sets except that, and then there's like this belt you can get
Right.
that put your guys in. But the ring itself, you got to have the dudes wrestle, and basically there's these little joysticks and these little claws that you can squeeze some of the muscles into, definitely not all of them.
Right. Yeah.
And what's so cool about the ring, though, and I'm glad you asked about it, is that there are 2 figures that are exclusive to the ring. And believe it or not, they're exclusive to the Muscle toy line. They were not released in Japan. These are U.S. original figures, and they're not on the Muscle poster either. These are figures 234 and 235. And one of them, the Muscle Man one, looks near identical to Muscle figure number 141, which was the one that I put on my Mount Rushmore. It's near identical, but it's not identical. It's a little bit smaller. He has different shaped belts. There's just like some tiny little changes made to it, and nobody really knows why that is. Why didn't they just re-release it with that same other figure or anything else? Why did they make this slightly different but almost exactly the same toy? And that is an answer that most people just don't have.
Yeah.
And then the other toy is an original Buffalo Man, which only comes with the ring and also the board game, the Muscle Match playset board game, which this is a fun one. So the Muscle playset board game comes with 10 figures. 5 of them are green, and 5 of them are grape, which is a color unique to the board game.
Wow.
And so if you want to get a grape figure, you have to have bought the board game, or, years later, maybe a grape figure or 2 ended up in your collection. But only 5 figures even are available in that color.
And they only came with the board game. Wow.
And they only came with the board game. And the Terry Bull that came with the ring is one of the green figures, not the grape ones.
Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha.
For parity.
Yeah. That's why we have you on here, man.
Yeah, important things. These are important things.
Yeah.
So I also, I don't remember this as much as a Nintendo fan as I was as a child, and as much of a Muscle fan as I was as a child. I don't remember the game, but I have found it and later in life and watched it. I know some people are pretty hard on the game. I don't know that it's as bad as some people say. Do you have an opinion on the Nintendo Entertainment System game?
It's a terrible game. It's objectively a bad game, but it didn't matter. As a kid, I needed it also, and I played it all the time, or I rented it from the video store.
Yeah, back in renting days. Yeah,
back when that was a thing. I needed to have it, and so it's still part of my collection. I've got it. There is one difference in Japan. I believe one of the characters is swapped out.
Right. Yeah, I did read that.
But otherwise, they're basically the same game. But yeah, it's not a great game. But how many like wrestling games on the NES actually are when you go back and play them?
Right.
Yeah. The original WWF WrestleMania game or whatever was terrible too. It was awful. We on a previous podcast where we did a watch along with a guest, we talked about how good, like, if they could have come up with a formula, if WWF could have come up with a formula similar to Punch Out with Mike Tyson, where you meet Hulk Hogan or somebody at the Randy Savage Ultimate Warrior at the end, or Andre the Giant even. Now that would have been good, but but not what they did. So, do you have any of the other, like, I know they make, I've seen some bigger, like, I guess more like the Mattel wrestler size Kaneko Man and stuff like that. Do you have any of those, or is it?
I do have these things called Deka Kinkeshi,
okay,
which are roughly about 2.5 times the size of the Muscle figures. These are Japan only releases. I've got a ton of them at this point. I've got all sorts of Muscle things. There were even ones called Great Kinkeshi, which are like, they're big, hefty dudes. They're not quite like an LJN wrestler, but a little bit shorter than that. But they're still made of just like big, chunky rubber in the same way. I only have one of those. I have a plethora of them in different scales and different sets. There are some mini Kinkeshis. There are like the chibi Kinkeshis. There's the modern Gashapon stuff. There are these weird ones that came on top of coffee canisters. There's like all kinds of Kinniku Man merchandise in Japan, and I've over the years managed to accumulate a whole lot of it.
Have you ever been over there to the source?
I have. I've been there twice, and I don't want to go back again. But you know, it's one of those things where you go like, I've been there 2 times. I should go somewhere else and see more places in the world. but also, I just want to go back. I really want to go back.
Yeah. I want to go. I want to go for the first time. My son really does. He loves anime. He's an anime expert, and he loves anime. And I would love to take him one day as a trip. But it's awesome. And there is a store in this town, in this area called Nakano on the outskirts of Tokyo, and there's this big giant mall called Nakano Broadway, and it's just full of like vintagey Japanese toys, all the vinyl tiger mask things you can imagine, and like all this anime stuff and all this manga stuff and all these cool posters. And there's one store in this mall that's literally just little rubber dudes sealing the floor. Wow.
It's like my eyes. It's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It is. It's unbelievable. It's literally just this stuff. Like there's just like little compartments along the ceiling and the walls, and each of them are full with a little rubber dude, and that's all they sell at this place. And so that's really the thing that's driving me back there, guys.
Yeah. I don't blame you, man. That one store in Nakano.
Culture.
Yeah, the food. Come on. I'm dying to eat the food there, man. Wow. Yeah. So, you know, one thing I wanted to bring up is, and Jared, you know, is a big time. He has a complete LJN collection, which we're proud of on this podcast. But were there ever any, like, I know that Hasbro made these things called 2-ups, that the prototype type deals. Have you ever seen any muscle prototypes or anything like that? Or were there?
I have not seen prototypes. I'm sure they've made prototypes of like the more action figure versions of these characters, which exist. But these were single mold toys, and they were all made overseas originally. So like there wouldn't really be a muscle prototype. It would just the Kinkeshi are kind of muscle prototypes in that way. But
would just be the mold maybe or whatever.
I mean, I've never seen an actual mold. No, that would be really cool. But I have seen a picture of like one of the trees with the figures still attached by the plastic that like came out of a mold.
Yeah.
I don't exactly remember where I saw that photo, but if I do, I'll send it to you guys after this one.
Please do, man. Yeah. And another one I want to tell you, the bootlegs of the line, you know, I know that my son was born in 2006, and I know that we would go by this Kmart in Nashville and we would see it. And I know that I feel like there was a painted version of Kanukimon that came out around 2008, 2010 area time frame. Is that a possible like bootleg, like Alien Wrestler or something? Or was there a painted version of Kanukimon?
You're saying you saw it in what? In like a vending machine?
No, I bought it for, maybe it was a vending machine, but I bought it for him. I remember he took it home and he had the figure, and it was like it was the same size. It wasn't as soft rubber. It was a little harder plastic, and it was more painted. I could find it. I mean, it would take me forever, but maybe it's somewhere I can find it.
I don't know offhand, but I'm sure if you send me a picture, I could.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do, but I know there were plenty of bootlegs of the line. You know?
Oh, I mean, that's the thing. There were bootlegs forever. And as a kid, some of the ones in my collection were bootlegs that I got in vending machines, knockoffs of M.U.S.C.L.E, kit bashed versions of M.U.S.C.L.E, which is like when they have the head of one on the body of another. Like there's a limited line of like 8 to 10 figures that are like commonly known to have existed back in the 80s and 90s that were just that and are like highly sought after by collectors. And so as with like, you know, action figures nowadays, the bootleggy stuff almost has even more appeal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I like them because they're like dinkier and stupider, and something about that really just hits.
Yeah. That works, man. That works. All right. So I want to kind of give you my favorites, basically, if you don't mind. Yeah. So number 16, Neptune Man. I remember loving that one. That one is just a classic to me. He's got the arm up in the air. He's just a perfect, I think it's one of the best Neptune Man figures. The Terry Bull number 2, the Buffalo Man with the little, the thing on his shoulder. And I just remember loving that figure as a kid and wanting it. And oh man, I just loved it. And then Terry Man number 29, version C. I don't know what the versions mean. Maybe you can explain that. But Terry Man number 29, love that one. Yeah. My brother, the Plastic Sheik. I've got to love the Sheik number 62, which I think that one is Ed Farhat, right? I think you said that in one of your videos. So
modeled after him for sure.
Yeah, modeled after. Yes, sir. Yeah. And then a Kanukimon number 110, Muscle Man. I think of that as like your quintessential Kanukimon, in my opinion. I love that one. And then this one is a weird favorite. Okay. Jared is already laughing. This is so as a kid, our local congressman was Rick Boucher was his name, and he was Rick Boucher, and he was U.S. Congressman of the District 9, I think, or our congressman or whatever. And Mr. Nakano, number 162, the 9th District of Virginia. Yeah, the 9th District of Virginia. Thank you. He looks just like Rick Boucher, our little local congressman that we loved. And yeah, man. So Mr. Nakano is my subtle, low key favorite. He completes my collection if I have to have one. So
the announcer is a very popular character because again, it was so different than all the others too. And
right.
It was kind of a special one to have, and to be able to interview your little dudes or whatever reason you know, it was like a unique one. So yeah.
You had to have your Mean Gene, man, so yeah.
So one of the figures I want to talk to you about, I did a little research. This is your channel is probably going to cost me some money on eBay or at a vintage toy store somewhere, but that's all right. That's all right. It's not. I've bought all the LJNs, so the rare ones that I didn't have as a kid. So
do you have the Sergeant Slaughter?
I do. I do. And we were so into G.I. Joes as a kid. I cannot believe we did not have it. I mean, we have the William Refrigerator Perry. We had every metal.
It feels like a Mandela effect almost. Yeah. Like it didn't exist, but now it does, and we don't know. I don't know how we missed that. But I
don't know how we didn't get it because our dad was really good to keep our proofs of purchase, little cutout things, and mail them in. So I don't know how we didn't end up with the Sergeant Slaughter back in the day, but I do have it now, and it's not in bad shape. It's some of them have these little green, it almost looks like moldy dots or something. I don't know. I've heard the
rot or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard the Major Wrestling Figure podcast talk about it a lot, but so when you look at rare, you look probably the LJN line that is my biggest passion would be the Slaughter, even though it's technically Hasbro, but it's the same. But you got the Black Andre, or you got Ultimate Warrior, Warlord, Haku, Big Boss Man, some of those are the rarest. But when it comes to muscle, what I could find is the rarest one from what I could tell is that Satan Cross. Is that right?
Satan Cross.
Or is there a rare one?
Well, there are technically more rare ones. But let's talk about Satan Cross for a second.
Okay.
Satan Cross is figure number 236. So there's 233 in the line, plus the 2 ring figures, and then Satan Cross, who is this anomaly that was produced in lesser numbers, and people don't really know how and why that is. So if you want to get a Satan Cross figure, they're about $100 out there. I don't actually own an official Satan Cross. I own a very talented toy artist has duplicated it in several different colors, and so I have the sculpt represented in my collection via that. But I don't have the muscle itself because I'm not willing to pay the price tag.
Right.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot for a little rubber dude that's just going to go in the pile with the rest of them most of the time.
Right.
So I've never pulled the trigger on it, which makes me feel like a little bit of a fraud. We'll see what people think when I get to the end of my countdown.
Yeah.
but believe it or not, it's not actually the rarest muscle figure.
Okay.
There are a few others out there. There are some that exist that are known as the ultra rares that some select owners have, and only one or two are known to exist. And same mystery, we don't know why. But those are all, again, like Satan Cross, based on non-muscle sculpts that exist in the Kinkeshi line. And we don't know why those exist. And those go for hundreds and thousands of dollars anytime anyone does want to sell them. The other rare figures that also go for exorbitant price tags are, if you look at the checklist, I sent you guys the link to the checklist. Maybe you'll share that with the community. Yeah. The checklist has these labels on it with the letters A and B on some of the different colors throughout the checklist. And that also indicates rarity. So the B ones are a little bit more rare, and you might be able to sell those for a few bucks. The A ones are so exceedingly rare, you'll probably never see them. And some of the people who pride themselves on having the largest, most comprehensive muscle collection just are unable to complete their collections because some of those A's are in such rare quantity that you can't even find them. And if you do, again, hundreds, thousands of dollars, depending on which.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
It's not my bag. I like to spend a couple bucks on my toys. I like,
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a pretty nice haul I saw posted, and not too long back, where you got one of the old play school like cavemen like guys. We like those back in the day, man. I remember those.
Yeah.
Is there any other like Satan Cross that are like that 2-piece? I haven't seen any in my thing, but he's got like 2 pieces. He's like a centaur almost, or something like that.
Yeah. So the Satan Cross in the muscle line is only 1 piece. The second half was never made in muscle form. But there are a lot of 2-piece figures in the original Kinkeshi line. Some of them are just like 2 dudes doing a move to each other, and you just kind of link them together. And then there's a few others that have like, I don't know, they have like detachable things they can hold, or they have the little centaur back and stuff like that. There's a few, but again, those are none of them in the actual muscle.
Okay.
Line. They tried to keep it simple. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, that explains it better. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, Greg, man, this has been incredible, bro. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. We kind of open this up now. Is there anything else that we need to know that you haven't shared, that we haven't asked you? Is there something else you were wanting to share that, as we're starting to wrap up?
Gee, I don't know, guys. Thanks so much for inviting me on, for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know if I have much to share other than the fact that I'll just say this. If you're listening and you're out there and you have a hobby of any kind, and whether it's a stupid thing like collecting little rubber toys or action figures, or if it's dancing or sports, or if it's cosplay or any dumb thing that you think is dumb but brings you joy, you shouldn't feel any shame over it. You shouldn't let anybody make you feel bad about it. You should just embrace what you love, because we live in a stupid world. And you should find joy where you can find it. And I found it in these little rubber dudes, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And I'm sharing it with the internet, and I'm sharing it with the world. And you guys should just embrace what you love.
Thank you. That's awesome. We love that. I mean, we believe in that totally. Because, I mean, dude, we're talking wrestling nonstop over here, Yeah. So, well, what do you do in your real life, man? What's a real life, Greg? What's your job in the real world?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. I'm a writer. I work in TV and comic books. And,
dude, that's awesome.
Or I used to. This industry is crumbling in many ways, so I won't get too detailed into that. But I worked on cartoon shows like Sonic Boom, the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon show. I've worked on Transformers BotBot and Unikitty and Lego Monkey Kid and all kinds of cool animated stuff. And I've done a couple stories in, DC Comics, in Action Comics, Batman Urban Legends.
Wow.
Hopefully I could continue to do more cool stuff like that.
Yeah, I hope you can too. Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. And maybe somebody needs to give you some money to make a Kanuki Man comic or a modern updated manga, we can, that would be the idea, right? Come on, somebody give this man some money.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Definitely do that.
Well, you heard it here first.
You hear it first.
So we've always wrap every show up, and this kind of takes it away from Muscle, but it's okay. We always wrap every show up with one final question from the Plastic Sheik. Take it away.
I'm gonna wrap Muscle into it a little bit. I'll make it a 2-part question. So,
okay.
First of all, give us like your maybe favorite like tale in the anime with Muscle, and then in wrestling, give us maybe your favorite match you've ever watched.
Okay, I like that. My favorite story in the Kinnikuman anime series that I watched. There's this one arc where they introduce the character Warsman. He becomes one of the main characters. He becomes one of Kinnikuman's best friends. But the idea of Warsman is that he is this soulless, evil robot with like these Wolverine-style claws, these bear claws. And he doesn't have a heart and he doesn't have a soul. And he's just built to kill and destroy. And by the end of the story, he's crying. And he is overwhelmed by something called friendship power. And he can't help but turn to the side of good. And that's kind of the message throughout Kinnikuman. It's always that arc, but there's just something so inherently funny about this soulless, evil cyborg robot crying over the idea of finally finding friendship. It's truly very hilarious and a little touching.
That sounds awesome, actually. Yeah.
That's my answer. Favorite wrestling match. My gut instinct is, I've seen a lot of the Samoa Joe, Kenta Kobashi matches from Ring of Honor back in the day. Those are some of the most hard-hitting fights I've ever seen. That's my gut instinct to say off the top of my head. I also really loved, I go to a lot of live events. So I've been to a lot of Lucha Underground. I've been to Ring of Honor. I've been to PWG.
Nice.
There was a match at PWG years ago between Chris Hero and Mike Bailey, who just debuted for AEW recently.
Yeah, Speedball.
Speedball Mike Bailey. And these guys just tore the house down. And it was, I don't know, I've seen so much live wrestling, but that match just stands out in my head. Chris Hero, I shouldn't speak his WWE name. Chris Hero, he hits so hard, and so he has such a snap to all of his strikes. I've always been a big fan of him. And then Mike Bailey, that was like my first time really seeing him, and he really impressed. So that's just a gut instinct. Hunt down that match. I forget exactly what show it was, but Chris Hero, Mike Bailey, just put, there's a little gem, a hidden gem for you.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to find that right now. So, yeah. One thing, I guess, since you're in the entertainment industry as well, what is the favorite thing that you've written? How about that?
Oh boy. I have to pick. It's like Sophie's choice.
Favorite child.
My favorite thing I've written. I've written that has been produced.
Sure. Yeah. Or anything, but produced might be good. Yeah. My
favorite thing that's been produced. I'm not going to, I'll just pick one. I'm just going to pick one. I did this episode of Unikitty that it's kind of this Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory themed thing where they're looking for the golden ticket so they can go to the ice pop factory. Okay. And it sounds really silly. It sounds really silly, and it is. The show is very stupid and over the top, and it's why I was a great fit for it. But the idea is they want to win the golden ticket to go to the factory. In the end, they get swept away, and the character comes, and she goes, "Welcome to my factory!" And there's this magical thing, and they ride into the sky, there's a rainbow, and they're on a giant popsicle stick, and they open the doors, and then the doors open, and we cut to this live-action, mundane factory with this gray sludge sliding across the thing, and then that's the end of it. And that's how we end the episode. This is the culmination of everything they've been working for, and just this we just undermine it completely, and that's
it's actually just a factory. It's not, nothing fun about it.
Gray, goopy, disgusting sludge. Yeah.
Man. Oh, dude. Well, I'm going to go check that out too. Thank you so much for doing this. First of all, it's at Every Single Muscle. Go follow, like, subscribe, notify, hit the bell, all that jazz. Make sure you follow on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Help the guy out, man. He's got incredible content. If you are even just a small fan of wrestling action figures, this channel will entertain you on to no end. But if you love the muscle figures like we do, this channel is absolutely incredible. And we're so glad that you came on and told us more about this. We learned a lot today, right, Sheik?
Absolutely, man. I was anxious for this because I knew I was going to learn something that I wish I knew more about. I was talking to people the other day, and I was like, until a little while back, people asked me if I liked anime. I'd be like, no, but I have a deep history with anime that I didn't even know I had with this. So it's kind of cool. But appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon, and we'll keep promoting the channel for you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. This is fun.
Good talking to you.
Guys.
All right. That was Greg Hahn from Every Single Muscle. We'll be right back to wrap things up on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling after these messages.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, stop by Captain's Corner, where you can get autographed photos, cards, magazines, and figures from all of your favorite wrestling superstars of the past, present, and future. You'll also be able to participate in live signings in the weeks and months to come. Make sure to stop by Captain's Corner on Facebook and give us a holler. Remember, cheers to the working man.
Hi, this is Mike Needham, host of the Reckless Abandon podcast with Mike Needham. We invite you to jump on your favorite podcast platform and search for the Reckless Abandon podcast and give us a listen. I'm sometimes joined by a part-time podcaster, part-time co-host, and full-time wife, Tiffany Nicole. We talk wrestling, we talk pop culture, we talk local events, local happenings in West Tennessee, and a ton of other stuff. But be sure to check out the Reckless Abandon podcast. Find us on Facebook. Also, look up the Micro Group Podcasting family on Facebook and see some of our other podcasts we have out there. Until next time, make good choices and always remember, no dollar, no dice.
Oh, Sheik and Quinton, one more awesome interview, and golly, Greg's cool, man. And I guess as y'all heard, unfortunately, Quinton didn't get to make it too long because, during that time they had some tornado sirens going on. But, so we missed you, Quinton, but hey, we're glad you're safe and everybody's good at your home, man.
Yeah, man, that's most important.
Yeah, I hate it too because I had no idea about any of this stuff, and I was really wanting to listen and listen to y'all talk about it and learn it. So I guess I'm going to have to be like everybody else this time and listen to it when it drops on Thursday.
Yeah, it'll be there, brother. It'll be there. So thank you. But hey man, you tried, right? It was funny, but you got one question and then people are going to be like, where'd Quinton go? But hey, so that's where he went. He's safe and sound now, thankfully. But anyway, yeah, man. So just want to thank Greg. Jared, how you feel like you learned some stuff, man? Did you learn?
Yeah, man. I mean, one of the facts, we knew some of the wrestling based characters, but that there was a Fritz von Erich basically knockoff.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. And that list website thing you gave us is pretty cool to tell you a little bit about all that. Man, it goes so deep. And eBay, watch out, here I come. So
I know, I wish we had that board game, man. Seriously.
Oh, seriously, man.
Yeah.
I don't remember the board game though, but just like I don't remember the Nintendo game when we would have been wanted it, I guess to say. I mean, now it'd be wanted to have it.
Right.
Otherwise, but yeah.
Yeah, and I did do some research, and the muscle figure that, if y'all are curious about it, the muscle figure that I bought my son in the late 2000s was called Ultimate Muscle, and it was a line that they re-released. They were harder plastic. They had some paint on them. Anyway, they were called Ultimate Muscle. It was just a re-release of the line that had a paint job on it. But anyway, just thank you, Greg. Man, we'll have to get you back on for something else sometime down the line. You were a great guest, and we greatly appreciate it. And we wish all the luck to your awesome channel, and we can't wait to see, how things turn out for it, because man, we're big fans of it. So we definitely appreciate that, Greg, and keep it going, man. We can't wait to see what's next on there. I know Sheik watches it daily, right?
Every time one pops up, if I'm available, I'll click on I get the notification, I click on it and watch it. So it's I'm like psychotic about it. I could probably be his first like on a lot of the videos. I click it so fast. So.
Well, that's good. I'm sure he appreciates that. Another thing that we got to talk about today, y'all, is CHW Pro Wrestling, April 19th. They are doing Indie Mania once again in Ashland City, and that's Saturday, April 19th, with Andy Douglas. That's right, one half of the legendary tag team, The Naturals. The Andy Douglas, he'll actually crack your back too. And Quinton, the cool thing is, man, I see your boy JC Crow's on the show, man.
Yeah, I noticed that. I guess he's back trying to do a little something, I guess.
Yeah, man, he's your boy, right? Did you bring him in?
Oh, no. He was already started when he joined me and JP in Hanging Tough, but he's my boy though.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I haven't seen him. I remember meeting him back way back, so I'm glad to see he's still doing it. But, man, they've got their CHW heavyweight champion, Austin Wright, Chris Green, Stephen Green, like we said, JC Crow, the Wild Wolves. I mean, they've got a stacked card. And once again, it's a great opportunity to meet a legendary pro wrestler in Andy Douglas, man. He's very cool. I had a chance to interview him. Hilarious guy. Got a really cool perspective. And I love what he's doing now. He's doing watch-along videos of those Russian he does watch-along videos on YouTube of those Russian chiropractors who are just basically soft porn is what it is, honestly. It's really bad. But anyway, he gets a kick out of it, and it's entertaining to watch. But anyway, go there Saturday, April 19th. That is one more time, 1935 Tennessee 12, Ashland City, Tennessee. Bell times at 7, doors open at 6. Ringside seating and general admission are available now. Y'all get those tickets. They go fast. Once again, support our friends at CHW Pro Wrestling and tell our boy Aaron Camaro we said hey. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I will say this, guys. Once again, if you go and look into one of the photos, I'm not even going to tell you which, but it shouldn't be hard. If you go into one of the photos and look really closely, you will see our next guest. And that is the only clue I'm giving you because it's a big one. It's an awesome one. Y'all are just going to have to stay tuned for that. But look at one of the photos. We didn't do it on purpose, but it played itself perfectly. So go ahead and support us and like us at GMBMPW on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Guys, we appreciate the support y'all have given us. It means the world to us, and we just can't thank you enough. We broke 1,000. Means the world. Thank y'all so much. Guys, that's all I got. Y'all got anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if they look at the picture, there's not a lot of those figures that actually represent a real person. So even better. So
yeah, there you go.
I don't know, we don't have a talking anamorphic computer or a volleyball man, whatever he is, coming on. So that's going to narrow down your possibilities, guys. So
yeah, feed it to him on a silver platter, Sheik. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That got even easier, guys. Just look at the photos. Y'all figure it out. Or let us know what you come up with. And yeah, he doesn't have a head for a basketball. So you're right. Well, all right, guys. We appreciate you one more time. We'll see y'all next time. And for Greg Hahn from Every Single Muscle, Quinton Quarisma, the Territory Wrestling Guru, the Plastic Sheik, Jared Street, and myself, this has been Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Don't forget.
Evasion of the muscle things. They've come to drive America nuts. They're ugly. They're weird. They're tiny. They're terrible. And they're pink. There are hundreds of them. It's an epidemic. I'm going crazy.
Not catch them.
Muscle things. Hundreds of different, I don't know what's. They run in packs of 4, 10, or 28. Sold separately, new from Mattel. How many can you capture? Muscle Invasion Update. Scientists discover muscle things have come to wrestle. America's only hope, the Battle and Belt and the wrestling ring.
He moves left. He's hooked one. Into the Battle and Belt it goes. He's got another. Folks, this wrestling ring may save the world. One more to go. He's got him. His Battle and Belt is full. Hard knocking rockin' ring. Battle and Belt. Muscle figure packs each sold separately. New from Mattel. Can you save the world?
With a tear in my eye. This is the greatest moment in my life.
We'll see you later.
This has been a James Rock Street production.